record this so that we can play it later. We'll put it up on a YouTube video. So if you want to go back and rewatch anything, you can certainly do that. And we'll have that posted, and I will also use this recording to make some notes, which I'll make available to everybody as well. So hopefully this will be helpful. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about our format today, and then Eric has a quick announcement he'd like to make. So we're going to start out with just some kind of boring, linky stuff, which is some links to, I don't know if people have seen the VOSHA training document that is going to be required for staff and employers to complete. We'll bring it up. I can show it to you. It's a PDF. It's not an interactive form. It's literally a PDF you open up on your computer and read through the slides. But it has a lot of good information, and Vermont is requiring every employee to take it. How enforceable that is, we don't know, but it's like, it's on the honor system, but definitely do it for your employees and yourself. It also has a lot of good information in it. And then we're also going to look at, there's a link from ACCD that also is going to tell you a lot of good information as an employer that you need to know, and how to organize yourself if you have employees. Okay, here comes Anna's coming in. Okay, so Eric, do you want to go ahead, unmute yourself and give your thing? Hi, Anna.
Sure. Thanks, Meg. So thank you, everybody, for being here today. Really looking forward to, kind of seeing what the conversation is like with our retail businesses throughout the Valley. I did get an email just a few minutes ago from RT Brown, and on this call, he just wanted me to give you guys a reminder that resource call from the BDCC for businesses is today at 2:15. He has a number of presenters lined up. Sean Barth, who is an industrial hygienist from Project WorkSafe, Steve Monahan, who is the VOSHA director, Carla Woodrich is the VMEC professional manufacturing and business growth advisor. So all of those are going to be on that call at 2:15 today. And then we will, either myself or Meg will post a link kind of in the chat, just so you guys have a link to that this afternoon. But that was all I had.
Great. Eric, can you actually would you mind throwing that link into the chat?
Absolutely.
Okay, and we'll be sending out an email to everybody once we get through the governor's announcement in case there's anything pithy in there, but we'll get this out, and we'll have a recording of this call. We'll try and get this out to you before 2:15, but that sounds like a really good call. So once we're done kind of looking at those documents, which we'll just have a quick spin through, we're going to go around and just give everybody, let's see, we have, I guess, 18 people. Maybe if we give everybody like 30 seconds, we'll just go around and I can call on everybody, just kind of open up the floor to you for 30 seconds. You can talk about what are your concerns, questions, ideas, challenges, thoughts. I mean, we want this to just be a conversation where we're sharing with our peers in our community what our thoughts are and our questions are. Our hope is that we can then collect some ideas and questions that everybody has and get you more information and take a deeper dive on future calls. So this is basically a way for us to know what should we be helping you with, and what can we help everybody with. Eric did just drop that link into the webinar in the chat, so you can go ahead and click on that now and save it in your bookmark bar, or we can send it out later. So I'm just going to quickly, Andrea had a quick question. So Andrea, you want to just go with your question, and then we'll get.
Yeah, my question is maybe before we all give our opinion, can you just update everyone with where the governor is at this point with his speculation? And I think at 11 o'clock there's another meeting with him. So will he be releasing more information? But I think we all should be up to the same speed on knowing where the government is before we comment on.
Oh, sorry. Yes, and actually, Isabel just asked the same thing. So the governor is not going to speculate, right? The governor is not going to offer any speculation. So what we get from the governor is like the facts, And as of now, he has not offered any guidance yet in terms of timing for retail or restaurant operation. This is true. This is the world we're in now. So we're probably not going to have a lot of answers today. But knowing what the questions are, I think is very helpful. So today is really more about, what's top of mind for you? What's the most information you think you need? And how can we get that for you? So we haven't received any timeline guidelines yet. No, that is not in place. We do know that the stay home, stay safe order does expire as of May 15th, but we haven't gotten any word from the governor yet what's going to happen and how that's going to affect retail. So we're all kind of in the dark. This is really just a chance to have a conversation and bring up questions for the future. So having said that,
Meg?
Yes.
Just a quick thing. I think great question, Andrea. But the one thing that we do know is that the ACCD has put out a link. And can you go over that first? Because I just think that that's really good information and a good starting point, that they really want to see your employee, yourself especially, and your employees trained. And this template that they have out is a really good, starting point for you. And making sure that you and your employees have taken the VOSHA training is really key.
So this is this link here, which is the ACCD. And again, I'll drop this in the chat. I'm just going to copy it right now so I can drop it in the chat for you. This is from ACCD, Exposure Control Plan. If you click on that, it brings up a text document. I think I already have it open somewhere on my screen, but it just you'll download it, you read through it, and it gives a lot of really good information. So that's the format that's going to come up to you in as a text. You can save it. And I will let me go ahead and just drop that. I'll drop that in the chat in a minute. We also have, this is the VOSHA, Vermont official state website, the laborvermont.gov. This is this is the PDF. This is using OSHA CDC guidance to protect workers as we bring workplaces online. This is actually required for any workplace or employee that's currently open. But you can just see as you go through it, you're going to read through the slides, and it has a lot of background information that's based on, science, CDC sources, signs and symptoms, all kinds of things that you should really, that everyone needs to review. When you get to the end, let me see if it gives me there's so much in here, but you can see there's lots of sections. So it tells you what to do. It gives you a certificate, and it's literally a PDF. Okay, so you're going to type in the name of your employee, or they can type it in themselves, put in the date, the employer name. They should save it, email it to you, keep it in a file on your computer, print it out, keep it in a file, so that when asked, you could say, yes, everyone in my business has completed this. So this is just, it's actually really good, valuable information, number one. Number two, it is required to do this. So it's good you can start, these are things you can do now, is just tell your employees, even if you don't have a back to work start date, could go ahead and do this, take this training so that you have it ready to go. Okay, so I will, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so we go back to seeing everybody's pretty faces. I will drop those two things in the chat. So why don't we go around? I can, just because I have the talking stick, and then I'll give it up permanently, is I did get an email from someone who couldn't be here today, from Lilius. She had a couple thoughts, so I can just share what she shared. So here's her just quick suggestions. She said, here's her issues. As soon as the requirements for opening are established, a poster could be printed that can be attached to the entrance door for each store that clearly states the rules to be followed by customers based on state guidance, around masks, gloves, social distancing, touching objects, or trying on items. Now, some of these things I will say we don't have guidance on yet, but hopefully we will ahead of time. So this is to avoid the possibility of confrontation with people who may take exception to the regulations, and having it as a village or as a community, uniformity would help, so that it's sort of, maybe we can brainstorm around that, sort of a code of conduct versus it's not one person is doing something different than someone else. So her feeling was that store owners should be supplied with sanitizer, industrial size sanitizer bottles, gloves, and masks. We would have to discuss how that could be funded, but I think, or whether people want to do that themselves. It should be made clear that children are not free to wander around stores or touch items. That may not be applicable to everyone. And what age will children be required to follow adult rules? Hopefully we'll get state guidance on that. And then another question, will any public bathrooms be available, as in at the chamber? That's an interesting thing we should address. And then where should masks and gloves be thrown away if they're disposable? So those are just some really nitty gritty things from Lilius. So I'm gonna say, I'm just gonna go around the order that I see on my screen. I don't know if we all see it the same way, but Christina, that puts you up first. Is that putting you on the spot? You wanna go? And we'll just take like 30 seconds and tell us what you think. Okay, wait, I'm gonna unmute you. Hang on. Okay, we gotcha.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Anyway, yeah, I had a few thoughts and ideas. First of all, I'm in a unique situation because I have no employees. I'm basically the owner, manager, salesperson, so it's just me in the shop. So, that's one thing. I guess my concern is that unless the restaurants are open, I mean, Wilmington as a destination, and again, depending on what the governor does, I feel right now that people from out of state have been coming up here sheltering, but once things are lifted, they're going to go back, and I'm not sure how many people are going to be coming up to visit Vermont. Unless, there are restaurants and inns open, because I don't think retail itself is going to have enough of a draw, for people to visit.
Uh-huh.
So, it could go either way. So I guess that was basically my thought.
Okay, great. Okay.
And yeah, the other thing, I know we discussed putting things like for retail, putting things outside on the sidewalk, but I think that's a moot point, because once people, they regulate maybe 2 or 3 people in the, in the store, that shouldn't be a problem. They should be able to, go in and see everything.
Okay, great. Thanks, Christina. Okay, so Cordelia, I have you next. Do you have some quick thoughts? I'm going to unmute you. Wait, hang on. I don't know why it's not working. Try and unmute. There you go. We gotcha.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So I just like Christina, am a one-girl show, and I don't own my building. I just rent. So my thought is to bring all my products home, sell primarily online. If the flea market opens and allows things more than fruits and like vegetables and eating things, then I would potentially set up a table and try to disperse some of my inventory that way. But I don't foresee buying more inventory this summer.
Okay. Jim, I have you next. Let me see if I can unmute you. It doesn't let me unmute the iPad people, so you can. Oh, not quite. Oh, wait, I don't hear you yet. There you go.
Hi, everyone. My thoughts are the same as Christina and Cordelia's, really, as a sole proprietor. I can't have someone policing my place, so that I've heard about, or standing outside to limit the amount of people coming and going. Also, my greatest asset is my studio, as everybody knows, and there's not 3 feet between me and anywhere in that studio, and so my space doesn't hit the 6-foot requirements. So I'm a little worried about this early opening thing. I feel pretty good that we've gone through 2 months of this almost, and I'm still healthy and safe, and I have my studio here, which I'm getting all my work done, so do I really want to take that risk of opening early? To me, is really questionable, so I'm here to listen to what other folks think, and thank you for having me. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Okay, Helena, do you want to talk, or you want to have, or Isabel, you want to talk, one of you?
Hi. So Helena actually is a great resource because she does have the retail portion of our store, and she's been hearing a lot of what is going to be required in Connecticut. So maybe we're not going to be as stringent, but it's kind of scary what they're going to be expecting people to be doing in Connecticut shopping. As far as we're concerned, we've been open since, we haven't closed at all, but of course our retail business has totally dropped off. We haven't done anything in our cute little shop where we have all our stuff, but I've been watching the news, and I have a feeling that we are going to have people coming up this summer. I think people are going to be looking for, places to go. We're not going to have, the long lines going down to, down the hall for us, but we're thinking about other ways of doing the restaurant business, like maybe taking orders with iPads and having people place their own orders so there is less contact. But until there is a vaccine, more testing, I think that we're just going to be living in this parallel world right now where we're not going to be able to run our businesses the way we did. And it's unfortunate because I don't know, like I know from our experience, last summer was a gangbuster summer. We had so many people coming through Wilmington because it just became such a destination spot. And now with the Hermitage opening, I think a lot of those second homeowners are also going to be taking advantage of having a place to run away to from the city and everywhere else that they've been well, I know a lot of them have been checked up in Vermont, but I think that as far as retail goes, it's going to be interesting to hear what mandates the governor has, because it's impossible to own a store and not be able to touch something and look at it and try it on. And Helena, you had some insight on how Nordstrom's was going to do things, so let me let her talk.
Yeah, great.
Well, Nordstrom's is trying to figure out, because we have a May 20th opening here in Connecticut, and the issue they're having is that they're not allowed to have anything on tables. Everything has to be on hangers, and then the fitting room has to be cleaned after each customer, and the clothing that the customer tries on has to be put away for a day or two, whatever it is. So we're not going to be able to put those clothes they try on back on the selling floor. They're going to put it away for I don't know how long before the germs are gone off the clothing. But so that's going to be an issue, trying to do sales and having customers try things on. I think it's a little over the top, but this is what they're trying to figure out right now. How do you allow customers to try things on, and if they don't want it, what do you do with the clothes? So other customers will not be safe trying stuff on. But and the same thing, allowing less customers into the store, possibly having masks for them. So if they don't come with the mask, having masks at the door for them to put on, things like that. So, and the same thing with the bathrooms. They're still trying to figure out, the accessibility for customers, how quickly they'll be sanitized afterwards. So it's an issue.
Right. Okay, thank you guys very much. Leslie, did you want to unmute yourself and have some more to say?
I have a really tiny space, and like Jim, you can't really do too much, with people walking in, and I've been pretty successful online right now. So I don't have much more to say about it, to tell you the truth.
Okay, that's good to hear that the online is good for you.
Oh, wait, I do have one question. What's going to happen with all the festivals that were planned? Like the Blueberry Festival and all that kind of stuff. What's going to happen with that, where we have the streets shut off and a lot of business going through?
So at this point, sorry, Meg, I didn't mean to.
I was going to, no, go ahead, Eric, you can.
So at this point, no decisions have been made on, festivals coming up. Obviously, things like fireworks that are coming up a lot sooner than the rest, decisions will be made very shortly. But then when we start to look at, I know Gretchen had mentioned this morning that Old Home Week has decided to postpone until 2021. Blueberry this year may look very different than it did previously. But that being said, I mean, as far as, Wilmington Work Strolls going into the fall and our Wine and Harvest Festival and things like that, we're kind of in a holding pattern at the moment, just because if we can do something, we would like to do something. It may not look exactly like they always have. They're based on whatever the regulations are at that time. The modifications will probably need to be made. But at this point, we would like to see, in my opinion, if we can pull it off, I don't think we can go all year without any events in the Valley. It's just, that's kind of our bread and butter, to go along with our retail and our restaurants and our lodging. So, I personally would really like to see something happening. Again, they may not look exactly the same as they did, but I think that, between myself, Meg, groups in Dover and things like that, we are going to try to keep things happening as we can.
Okay.
I will say it's going to be taken up again on kind of a municipal level at the next select board meeting. And I think really the idea being, let's not make huge decisions until we get guidance from the governor, and any decisions that are made or things that are planned should be based on, science, government recommendations, so that we're adhering to those guidelines very strictly, but not deciding ahead of time what those guidelines were going to be. I will say it also was announced that Marlboro Music Festival has canceled, and I think that's just because they've got, number one, musicians in a residential setting, number two, large crowds indoors of elderly patrons, and a big nightmare of ticket refunds if it has to be done at the last minute. So I think they have decided to cancel because of those reasons. Okay, so I'm going to move on, and I'll do both of you, Elizabeth and Story. Do you guys both want to unmute, and maybe you can talk a little bit about the Red Fox shop? I think Story, you have to, oh yeah, you guys are good. Okay.
I do it? Oh, is Elizabeth here? Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, hi.
Well, we've got you, Story. So do you want to start off?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I was just here. I just wanted to see what other people, their plans were for opening up and what everyone's going to do. I know we're probably just feeling things out now and going with the flow.
And have you been able to do, I know you've been doing some sort of special order pickup business?
Yeah, delivery and curbside pickup. So just keeping with that till, the rest of the town is opening up. Especially on our street, if the restaurants are closed and the other retail shops are closed.
What does that look like for you? Is there any sort of volume, or has it been very low? What would you say? How do you feel like that's going? Do you think that's a viable model? And Lisa can talk about that too, because I know Bartleby's has been doing a lot of curbside.
Yeah, I mean, it's the regular customers that we've had that are still ordering, which is great.
Like me.
Yeah.
My wine order. Cordelia, right. Those of us who need our wine orders. Okay. Well, that's just interesting. And also, thinking with smaller retail, any sort of online pickup, it's a different model. So it's just anyone who has thoughts on that, that's really good to hear. So Lisa can talk about that as well. Diane, do you want to go ahead and mute yourself and see what Chapman's has to say?
Yes. Actually, Lenny and I already took the VOSHA class online, and we got our little certificate. So it's really very simple. It is very informative. I like the idea that Lily has came up with, that we should all have standardized signs, because I've been kind of kicking around in my own mind, making a sign of what people need to do to come into our shop. We also have a very small shop, so the 6-foot distancing might be a little bit of a challenge, but I think we can do it. But I certainly don't want anyone coming in unless they're wearing masks. So I think we should sort of concentrate on that, like maybe getting a standard sign for all businesses. If we can get disposable masks, I think that would be great, and sanitizers, because I'm concerned about the fact that I'm not going to be able to get sanitizer after a while. I have some now. But I think that's all important stuff that we're going to need. But Lenny and I plan on opening up when we can. I don't know if we'll be open up 5 days a week like we have been in the past, but we'll kind of play it by ear. But, you know, summertime is a big time for us usually, so we certainly want to reopen.
Okay. Okay, Lisa and Anna, do you guys want to both go or?
Sure. Can you hear me? It's Lisa. Yeah. Okay. So I'll start, and then Anna, if you want to fill in what I forget. So we've been open through this basically without anyone entering the store. So we've been doing curbside, we've been doing shipping, we've been doing delivery, and what we have found is that there is, you know, definitely still interest in purchasing books from us. It's a lot more work, and it's less money. So you know we're getting through it, but you know now we're dealing with, because we wanted to open because it feels very strange to not be open, but at the same time now we're dealing with all of the questions about reopening when it's time. So we have been doing some planning on our side, and while there are not the specific recommendations for retail yet, we sort of have seen the writing on the wall and have done some planning, and that isn't specific, so that we can change it if the governors and the state rules come back differently than what we're saying. But so the things that we're thinking about and that we'll do, we are going to do plexiglass in front of our counter. So for our 2 workstations and cashier, we'll have plexiglass with an opening, you know, a large opening. So it's not going to feel like some sort of crazy secure place, but you know, so that we can pass things back and forth. But for the guard, we will wear masks, and we will require that people wear masks to come in. We'll have signage outside, and then probably just as you come in the door again. And at the door, we'll also have a hand sanitizer station. So we're also limited capacity. We don't know what that will be for our store, but my expectation is that we will be at the state request or lower, depending on what that is, because we all sort of understand the flow of our stores and know, you know, maybe square footage isn't always the best indicator if you have areas that are kind of congested I'm not sure how any store would enforce 6 feet apart. I'm not sure that is, you can say, please stay 6 feet apart. I think what you do is you limit the number of people who enter at one time, so that you don't have 40 people, which might be your capacity, and they're all sort of on top of each other. So, you know, when we look to summer, I think that we could be fairly busy in town. And I think that because it feels really safe for people to leave and come to Vermont versus some of the other vacation spots. So I think that people are going to be itching to leave their homes. And I think we need to be pretty prepared. So that's kind of where we are. The things that we still need to figure out are we going to continue to do curbside pickup, and how will that look once we're also open? If there are people who are not comfortable coming in the store, will we continue offering delivery? We've got to kind of work through some of those issues.
We also have an online presence, and so that will continue to go forward once the store itself is open too.
And how has the online business been? Have you seen that ramp up, or has it been about usual?
It ramped up. Yeah, it definitely ramped up.
Okay, it'll be interesting to see if that continues as a trend as well.
Especially now that people are familiar with how it works.
Right. And we've done a lot of, it's caused us to do a lot of work on sort of the ordering side of our website, because we're doing more business that way. I mean, that part of the business has ramped up tremendously. It's not sort of business replacer for people walking in the door, but it's, you know, much, much larger than it ever has been. So
it'll be interesting to track. Okay, great. Okay, Justin, you want to say some words? Can unmute yourself. I don't know, it won't let me unmute anybody, so. Let's see, let me see if I do it on my end. There you go, I gotcha. Go ahead. Yep, I think we can hear you now. Oh, you know what? I am not hearing your audio. Try again. We're getting your video. Let me go on to Pam, and then we'll come back to you. You can also, Justin, phone in if you don't. What? Gretchen?
Yeah, I was going to suggest phoning in because that happened a lot yesterday
Okay.
with Zoom.
So Justin, if you want to just get a call-in number, you can call in for your audio, and then we'll get back to you when you get audio. Okay. It sounds like your audio is messed up, or we'll just come back to you and see if you can call in. Pam, do you want to grab whichever one of yours is working for audio and say a few words on your thoughts? I know we've got Pam here.
Can you hear me?
I can hear Pam. So,
Okay. Well, hi everybody. Most of my stuff was covered already, and I had thought of the sanitizing station outside just at the door and offer masks for people that would be available for all of the people coming in. And the signage I wanted to talk about, which we already did, but I wasn't sure if Wilmington was going to do some type of a larger signage like they do sometimes with like the Stay in Wilmington type thing, if they were going to do anything along those lines.
So like almost like a billboard or
banner, you know, something like that. Just, you know, yeah. I wasn't sure if that was in the works at all or not. And then the other thing too is sometimes you do send out the emails and the marketing things. Would you be doing that when we reopen?
Yes, I mean, I think we've been sending out weekly. Usually we do sort of a monthly update. We've been sending it weekly because that felt like it was good to do. We may slow down to bi-weekly, but I think as there are important updates for visitors to know, I mean, certainly for businesses, we've been sending a couple of times a week because there's just so much information. So we'll continue that, of course, as long as it, you know, and Eric has been, you know, Eric actually, he's good. He's putting together the links. Eric actually has a comment, so we'll let Eric talk in a second. But he's been really, but we'll keep that continuing as long as we can. And okay, good. We've got Justin back, and it looks like he's connecting to audio.
Okay, well, that was just that. Those were my key points.
And marketing emails as well. We will continue. Eric, did you want to jump in?
So I just wanted to touch base on those two things. So if the town of Wilmington does not come up with one big sign, I think whatever myself and Meg and Gretchen and Dover comes up with for signage for businesses throughout the valley, we could kind of take those elements and make that happen on our end. So if the town's not willing to do that, then that's absolutely something that we would be willing to explore based on what we get together for smaller signage at your businesses. And then as far as the marketing goes, I mean, as soon as it's been obviously throttled back because we can't be inviting people here right now, right? So I think once we get the go ahead, you know, it's a reminder, I think, until we get to that point, it's a reminder that, hey, we are still here, and when we can have you back, we will. So we've been trying to do that. You know, again, like Meg said, we used to send an email every week, you know, with events and specials and things like that. This is more of like a every other week, maybe once a month, just reminding people, hey, Wilmington is still here, Dover's still here, you know, the Valley is still here, and when we can have you back, we absolutely will. So I think the marketing right now obviously looks a lot different. I think when the retail starts to open back up, when we have more guidance on what's happening with restaurants, when we have more guidance on what's available for lodging and when people can come and stay, I think then, you know, you'll see that marketing from us ramp back up to a point where it's inviting people to come and take advantage of everything that we have to offer.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to jump. Okay, we've got Justin back, and then I've got Andrea, although she stepped away, and I've got CS and Emily, and I don't know if they want to be separate or together. So we're going to give one by one, give those guys the floor. So Justin, I'm going to give you the floor now. See if you can unmute yourself. There we go. I hear you.
I'm good, right?
Good.
Hi.
My phone is going to ring.
I'm the brewer at Snow Republic. Obviously, the safety of everybody is most important, but obviously our big concern is going to be masks because we serve beer. So not sure how that's going to be handled. And it's, you know, if the staff's wearing masks, but the guests aren't wearing masks in a brewery, not sure how that's going to work. We're setting up our outside now to hopefully have seating. But I have a lot of friends that own barbershops, eateries, small business. Our conversation has been more on the business side. I'll use us for example. So if we're cut down, say 50% of the amount of people we're allowed in, we're losing that revenue. Then if we're spending 50% on cleaning supplies to clean the brewery and keep the place safe, how's anybody going to make money? That's my biggest concern, is obviously bringing in revenue. If we're going to be cut down with the amount of people allowed in, then we're spending more money on cleaning products. So everything's going up, but our revenue coming in is going down. How's that going to work? That's basically where we're at, and we can't make any decisions until we hear from the government what they're going to plan on. So that's about it. That's all I have.
Justin, we'll reference you too. You may want to jump in. We're going to have some other calls for restaurants specifically to take a deep dive, and that may we'll make sure you get on those calls because your concerns may be close to theirs.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to CS and Emily, I'm going to let you go, and then Andrea. I have not forgotten about you. I see you sitting there. Hi, Andrea. So do you guys both, CS and Emily, I know you have different businesses, but do you want to? I think
let Emily go first. We're entirely different businesses.
Totally different businesses, right? So we'll let you go separately. So go ahead. We gotcha. Yeah, go ahead. Yes, you can go.
Okay. So basically I'm with the 1836 Country Store. So exciting to see real faces on the call. Yay, humans are still out there. We've been open the whole time. I'm excited. All my employees are employed. Whoever wants hours, they're getting what they want. We have curbside pickup. We've quickly revved up our website. We've gone through all of our previous mail order customers. We're sending out handwritten letters to folks. We're sending out emails. We're thrilled with the response from our locals. We've completely torn apart the entire store. Everything has been cleaned, sanitized. We're just finishing now painting floors. So we also were on yesterday's VOSHA call. So we were already working on our own sign, but excited if you all are going to do one, then we'll use yours instead. We are at this point, of course, we do fall under essential business because we also sell food, and we're finding people can't live without their Vermont chocolates and fudge. So at this point, we are tentatively planning on opening on May 21st. What we have decided after VOSHA's call is we've ordered masks that will be available. People will only be allowed in with a mask. I love the idea that you all had about the hand sanitizer at the door. Maria and I quickly said, oh, we'll add that to our list. We'll figure out how to do that outside. When we looked at the requirements of how many people could come in based on, I believe they said you could only have 30% of your capacity. So we'll be limiting it to approximately 10 people coming in. We've got enough space, we believe, in all the rooms to keep everyone social distancing. If not, we'll of course mention that. Our plexiglass shields are going in this weekend. We will all be wearing our masks, and then of course the hand sanitizer. Because we work with food, we are all washing hands on a regular basis. So a lot of the protocol that they're asking for is what we already do at this point. So I'm not sure that pretty much covers what we're up to. And again, I had posted in the comments where Meg, I believe Eric was saying you all have reduced the amount of emails that you're sending out instead of just saying, hey, we look forward to seeing you all. Maybe you could be go back to your weekly and be featuring all the different businesses, do some videos, maybe someone is painting and you're showing their products off, the beer is being made, and do a video and show that, because what we found is the people are calling us and saying, okay, we want to support you all. We can't be there in person, but how can we buy from you? And then they'll call us, and for some reason, I don't know why they think we're the information spot, but it'll be like, okay, who's open? Where can we get food? It's like, oh, Jezebel's is open Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Oh, we just got lunch from the Roost. You can do takeout there. So I think if we all, we've got to get to the point where we get excited and how can we support one another. And I would love to know what other products and what others have and what they're doing. You know, it's easy with Bartleby's. We know to send people over for books, but I think that's just another way that Wilmington Works could really dive in, is go back to your weekly, and you've got this amazing list of tourists that want to know what we're doing and hear from us. Give them the opportunity to buy. And then the last thing, I agree with Lisa. From what we've heard from customers, we're going to have a busy summer up here. Now it's going to be up to us to how we're regulating it and how we're keeping us safe, our employees safe, our customers safe. But the people are just so anxious to get here. Even as Maria and I have been doing construction and we've had our door open when we've been staining and painting, and people keep coming up to the door trying to come in, even though we have it blocked off. So they're still coming to town. And many of them don't even know that we're still under a quarantine or whatever the socially correct is. So we try educating them, but I think we're going to be pretty busy as the borders start opening up.
Good, thank you. And CS, I will just say that I actually have been, we usually send out like a monthly email for Wilmington Works, but I have stepped that up to weekly. It started out being mostly services and who's open for takeout. As that hasn't really changed that much, it's sort of, that's kind of moved down. But this week I did just send out yesterday, I usually send it out on Thursday afternoons. So yesterday it included, here's last minute Mother Day's gifts, here's somewhere you can get them. So we are really working with that. So I'd love to work everybody. If you have something that you want me to include, you know, feel free to reach out and share what you've got, because that we can help you with that. I'm going to go to Emily and then Andrea. I see you, you're there. Andrea is going to be our last one, and then we can maybe address some questions, have Gretchen speak. Hi, Emily, there she is in person.
Hello. I think my mom pretty much summed it up absolutely brilliantly. We have been open for curbside, and we're definitely seeing a lot of people wanting to buy fabric, probably to make face masks. But, and please don't anybody ask me to make a face mask. I am absolutely over it. But if anybody needs a face mask, we might still continue to put them right on our picket fences for the community to come in and grab some. And we're part of the Rotary Club is also, we're kind of all a community project. So there's other drop-off locations for the masks. And I have a funny feeling, again, I think everybody will keep making them. We also, same as my mom was saying, we're going to put up like a plexiglass also to make sure that we keep us safe against the people. I may or may not mandate face masks, but if everybody says they have to have a face mask on, then I will also apply making sure that everybody wears a face mask before coming into the store. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm more or less excited about to see who will be opening up, especially as Memorial Day weekend is coming up. I know, of course, the country store is, and then we are also, but is anybody else going to open up for the weekend?
I think we're waiting on, from the governor, there hasn't been advice yet as to whether stores, non-essential retail stores can open yet. So as of now, we haven't heard. We will, of course, let everyone know. Lisa just made a note that you can get plexiglass shields from WW, just so everyone knows. Andrea, take the floor, grab the talking stick.
Well, I want whatever it is that CS is drinking, because I liked her enthusiasm. I don't know. I agree with so much of what I'm hearing. As far as being open Memorial Day weekend, I have fear around that idea. I'm just afraid of how many people will be coming up for a weekend and not be restricting what they're doing coming from New York and Boston and this and that. So I'm kind of fearful about the idea of having a store full of people coming through. I love the idea of the signage that Lily has brought up. I think that's a great way to go. I have been on a couple seminars with my industry, and I think it is going to be a 24 hours of not having people try on clothes that have been tried on. I also have been told that possibly re-steaming clothes, that steaming the clothes could be a safe way to go. But I like the enthusiasm I'm hearing about what people think. And I am so thankful that this took place when it did. If it was any other time, I would be totally devastated. At this point, I have an awful lot of inventory in for spring, summer that needs to move. And I have not made a decision going forward on what my buying for fall is going to be. It's kind of a wait and see. And, you know, it's an odd place to be where you're not wanting the crowds to come to town. And another thing that I think is important is that we have to remember people are frightened who are coming here also. And my business has always been on making shopping fun and having people enjoy what they do. And I think we're going to have to really work hard if our faces are covered with a mask and we can't be smiling and we can't be promoting. We've got to find ways to make sure people are comfortable and having a good experience when we do let them in the stores. So anyways, it is great to see everyone, and thank you guys for getting us all together. Very important.
Oh, my phone keeps.
Meg,
My phone keeps
you're
going crazy.
muted,
Yeah, go
but-
ahead, Eric.
Okay, so I just wanted to circle back. CS, I love the idea that you just had of us being able to feature the, you know, kind of some of the projects that you guys are working on right now, because I think what that does is in those marketing emails that we are sending, it does allow us to kind of humanize this whole thing. And, you know, it doesn't even have to be a project. Like if you're in the shop, maybe, you know, take a quick video of the fudge and the cheese that's available, or Lisa with books, or you know, even Andrea with things that you have in your shop. Not necessarily to say, hey, buy this right now, but just to say, you know, like, hey, these are the things that we have in. I think what we'll do is we'll put a call to business today in the email that Meg and I send to businesses, and just kind of say, hey, like, if you want to send us anything like a video or a photo or something for us to feature, I'd be absolutely happy to do that. I think we're going to rely on that content coming from you guys just because we can't come get it from you. So I think, you know, keep an eye on that email that we send out today. You know, just a call on what to do and where to send it. I think that's a really great idea. And then just as far as, you know, people wondering what's open and things like that, the chamber, while the physical location is not open, the phone is still being answered. So all calls from the chamber have actually been forwarded directly to me. So even though I'm not in the physical location, people who are calling and looking for services or food or retail options and things like that, they're still getting those answers. So just know that that's something that's been ongoing throughout this time period.
And I'll also say too, I know a tool that some people have been using is maybe going on, you know, doing Facebook Live or whatever. Feel free to just ping me and Eric, like, hey, we went live today. And then we can even just share a link to that video that's on your Facebook in our next, you know, communication. So please feel free. We try and follow everybody on social media, but it gets overwhelming, and we've got tons of information coming into us and all the business calls. So the more you can give us, we're so happy to share it. So please do that. My question is, we're looking at some future calls, probably starting, I guess, I'm not sure if we can fit something in right before Memorial Day because things may be frantic at that point, but maybe we'll see. But we wanted to schedule some people to come in and offer some sort of training and assistance And I'm just curious if I throw some ideas out and people can then jump on or type in the chat. Does everyone know how to do the chat, by the way? There's good conversations. They happen in the chat. So just hit the little icon on the bottom. You can see what's in there. One of the things that I've heard some people present on, which is really interesting, is making that conversion from, okay, my store is really about the experience of seeing me. How do I sell online? And there are people who actually can really give some good expert advice on things like that. I don't know if that would be helpful to people to kind of open that up and sort of get yourself a sort of second storefront going, but that is something that's available. And are there other things that people would like to see here pressingly to get addressed in a deeper dive? Christina, you have your hand up. Go ahead, Christina. Wait, you gotta unmute yourself. Hold on. There you go. I think we got you now. Let me see if I can do it. Christina, I got you now. I think you're good.
Okay.
I hear you.
I like the idea that you just brought up about, well, here's where I'm very backwards, you know, technology, Facebook. I do have, my website is on Facebook, and I was trying to open an online shop, and it was very tedious. In the middle of that, I got sick, so I just sort of abandoned it. So I would really love if there's anybody out there to sort of maybe help or walk me through like what I can do, you know, until we open, you know, for selling or promoting. You know, I think that's something, even after we open, I think, you know, the online presence is going to be, you know, the way of the future, or we should say, you know, that's going to be, I think, a larger percentage of our business. So I'm open to any suggestions if anybody's out there.
Okay, that might be something we can work on, and that might be interesting to have people like, you know, Lisa, who's had that developed for a while, to maybe be part of that conversation as well, if you don't mind, Lisa, to share what's worked, what hasn't, and just to have people come in to say, you know, a website you created, you know, 5-10 years ago may be needing some updates, and how do you do that, and what's out there. So I think that could be a conversation. Anyone else have some pressing needs you would love to have us get somebody to address in the next few weeks, or that, you know, say 4 weeks, 2 months, whatever period? And here's another question. How often do you think we should convene something like this? For your time, how often do you have an hour? Should we, you know, do every 2 weeks? Should we do every week? What do you think? Anyone jump in the chat. Or hand up, Christina. Wait, Christina, you got your hand up again? Go ahead. Yeah, you can just unmute yourself if you have something to say, guys, I think, as long as we just be
okay. But wait, what was your question again?
Oh, the question was, what are some other things, or how often should we meet? How often should we schedule a call? Every 2 weeks? Do we want a regular call? Do we want it every week? Do we want it every 2 weeks?
I think well, for myself, I think every week, because I think there's going to be a lot of information coming out from the governor in the next few weeks, you know, especially because it's right before Memorial Weekend. Memorial Weekend is sort of our kickoff weekend for the tourist season. So I myself would be interested at least once a week.
Okay. Sounds good. Anyone else? Just, I mean, I know Lisa said same thing in the chat. I think we need to have one right before we're allowed to open to review regulations. I think that would be a good, like, really nitty gritty. Can we get someone from the state on, and we'll work on, that's very good. Justin's waving. He's got a, you going out, or you just, you can unmute if you like. And anyone else got any other comments, questions? We still have a few more minutes.
Hi.
Yes, Isabel, what you got?
So with what's going on in Connecticut and New York, kids are home, fathers are home. As soon as Vermont opens, don't you think these people are going to have the mentality, they're going to say, hey, let's get out of here. We've been, you know, cooped up in our houses. As soon as Vermont opens, don't you think that Memorial Day isn't going to be the trigger, because there is no school? There is no sports. There is nothing. So I think that we have to be prepared that once Vermont says, we're open, people are going to be coming regardless whether it's a holiday or not, just to get away.
Yeah, I agree with Isabella completely, because we've been planning for the exact same thing. Because when you look at records, we know that we have a good Memorial Day weekend, then things are quiet until the vacation homes open up because school is out. Well, school is now out, and we're already seeing families that have been coming in and saying they can work from anywhere, the kids can school from anywhere. So I believe as soon as the governor starts to open up our borders, I think our second homeowners are going to pack in.
Yep.
And we got quite a few already hiding here. When you go to the different markets or Shaw's and you see all the out-of-state plates, they're quietly, respectfully already here.
Yeah, it's true.
Gretchen?
This is Gretchen. Yeah. So I agree with you. I think that, we had some surgeons in after 9/11 of people moving here. I think that we're going to have more people actually moving here, and these second home might become primary homes. So we got a lot of infrastructure to work on, like broadband and all of, housing issues, jobs. So, but I am an optimist. So, but I do think that you're right, with the governor on Wednesday opening up, our trail systems, golf, he opened, those kind of things. And, being respectful, like we're going to have signage everywhere. But, I do think, once he says, out-of-state people can come here, I think we'll have even more people coming. And I do feel that our second homeowners, we had a lot of second homeowners here, but they were, some were not respectful, but also some of our residents weren't respectful to the stay-at-home order and were not doing what they were supposed to be doing. So I know I'm preaching to the choir here probably, but I just feel that, they have started a, Valley, Friends of the Valley have started, which is a lot of second homeowners, and they have started raising money for, things in the Valley that need to happen. So they're still a huge part of our community. So, but yeah, I mean, and I just want to add one other thing that, these next few webinars that we would like to do for you, we are actually hiring professionals. So we want to make sure that we're getting your questions answered, but also giving you some ideas about, oh, well, yeah, I never thought of that. So we are interviewing them, this on Monday, the majority of them on Monday. So, and that's Eric, Meg, and myself are doing that. So if you have some input, please feel free to let us know.
And Cordelia has a hand up. Cordelia?
Yeah.
There we go. Gotcha.
So I guess I'm sort of on Andrea's team about, I'm really nervous for the governor to just all of a sudden one day say, okay, the borders are open and everybody floods in. Then what do we do with them? Like, we can't keep them 6 feet apart if they're all just coming. So I think it's going to have to, my guess is it's going to be very slow to open the turn gate for that to happen. And he's not just going to turn off the 14-day quarantine for out-of-state people by Memorial Day. It's just my guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think our governor has been moving very slowly and deliberately, so, I guess this is good to have this conversation, though, get people in a headspace of how can you handle it, what can you do, and like Lisa's saying, preparation, it's not necessarily planning, it's just preparation. So having those things in place before you need them is great, so that it's not a disaster if it does get busy. And it may be later in the summer before that happens. It may give us a time to slowly ramp up, which is great. So we've got a good list of things to work on. I think I hear signage. Last summer we put out those lawn signs about bring your shopping bag. Well, maybe we could work with having uniform signage for both shops and around town on those kind of in parking lots, just reminding people. We can talk about that and talk about messaging. That is very much up, like Wilmington Works, that's in our wheelhouse. So, okay, Eric is keeping an eye out for the governor so that we don't miss. We do have the governor making important announcements for my world about summer camp on
Right.
11. Lisa, did you have something?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, as far as planning, I do think that what we have been seeing, though, is not a lot of lead time. So while everything is slow and deliberate, what I think may happen is that we might get okay, and now in 3 days or something, or retail can open. And I think that you want to do as much planning as you can, because you don't want to be, and also, just because retail open doesn't mean you have to open that day. You can take a few extra days to get yourself prepared, or however long you want to take to get prepared. But I do think that we are probably in all cases not going to get enough notice for restaurants, probably not for retail. So do what you can now to get ready.
Okay, Eric?
Lisa, I just want to completely agree with what you just said. I think the plan that you guys have in place, where you're doing a little bit of pre-planning, even though you don't have the full set of regulations to go off of, is a really good start. Like, yes, you may have to make some adjustments to the things that you've decided to put in place, but I think just having a base plan set and then adjusting it based on the regulations is a really amazing place to start. I mean, the governor comes out, 2-3 times a week at least, and says, here's the things you can do. And then it's either later that day or even the next day before there's any real clarification or addendum that's released that tells you what that actually means. So, he says golf courses are open and everybody's grabbing their clubs, but at the same time, like, he hasn't said what that actually, it hasn't been released what that actually means for a golf course. So I think the process that you guys have in place to kind of get some of those things lined up even before those calls are made is a great place to start. And then really hoping that when the call is made by the governor to open this sector back up to everybody, that some guidance is provided with that pretty quickly thereafter.
Right. Well, everybody, I think, oh yeah, Isabel brought something up. That's right. Very good. And maybe we can, Lisa talked about this yesterday, the idea of going cashless. This is something that people will need to think of. I know some people are already set up to do it more than others. So that's definitely a topic that maybe we can address sooner rather than later on the nitty gritty. If we can do, Lisa had some things, I know some credit card, whoever your credit card processor is, I would say, give them a call and ask them what they have available to help you, because so you don't have to reinvent the wheel and install a completely different system. So that is just one tip, is call your credit card processor, see what they've got. That would just be my top of the head thing, because that's, they're better with technology than you may be as a shop owner, and that's in their wheelhouse. But that's something that we could address. Maybe we can, we'll poke around for if there's any good single source of information on that we could share with you. I think Apple Pay is pretty easy to work with as well. Lisa, do you have any little comments on that? And then we should probably wrap up because we've got the governor and I'm sure busy days.
So quickly, our credit card processor, if people have a credit card that has a tap option, which shows kind of like the little wireless symbol on the back of it, they can tap on our credit card processing machine, and it also takes Apple Pay. So it would be worth checking into those things with your credit card processor to see if your machine can do that. And if it can't, can you get a new machine? Will they provide you a new machine that is more up to date? The other thing we're going to do is in Bartleby's, if you can imagine, we usually have a display in the middle and then we take the person's credit card behind the counter and put it in. If someone doesn't have an Apple Pay or tabless, we're going to clear out our display because we don't want people really hanging out there anyway. And we'll turn the machine around so that they can insert the card themselves. So we kind of have to walk through that scenario a little bit, just so that we don't have a lot of people touching the machine. So, and kind of what that looks like. We have not discussed whether we're going to go cashless yet or not. I think we probably will end up taking cash, but we'll have to discuss it.
I muted myself because I'm trying to listen to the governor's not on yet. Okay. Well, I think this was thank you everybody for coming. I think this was a really robust group and a great conversation. So this has been recorded. We'll put it up on YouTube. You can re-listen. The chat box, there's some good links in the chat box. So I think I can just make a document of that again. So we'll send it, Eric and I will send out an email that we're collaborating on later today that will have, you know, all the stuff that was in the chat. So that'll have the links and anything that was discussed in the chat will come up as a document, as well as you could just replay the whole wonderful hour of our conversation. And I will send some notes as well. And we will plan a follow-up. So, you know, we can talk if we've got time to do it next week or very shortly after that. So within 10 days, and we're going to get some deeper dive, some experts that can come on and consultants and just provide you maybe with some outside eyes that maybe can give some ideas that might help us find, you know, this is going to be going on for a long time. So it's the immediate concerns. And then we have the bigger picture. What is this going to look like for my business and my life over the next couple of years? And there's different issues to address on both those sides. So we'll try and hit them. And sometimes I think just a group conversation like this can be really good for the immediate, because if somebody knows, now Lisa did say, I've heard, you know, we'll look into the plexiglass. So Lisa was saying WW had them, they maybe are sold out. So let's just I can do a little research into that and put the word out for people where you could get plexiglass, or maybe we can find out from WW when they expect to have more and just let everybody know to save you from making that phone call. We can make one phone call that covers a lot of bases. So we're happy to provide that service. And again, please reach out to Eric, reach out to me, reach out to Gretchen, especially for business type questions with Gretchen and financial questions. We're happy to just, you know, if you have a question that you need answered, probably a lot of other people do too. So please feel free to ask. No question is too dumb. Share us your videos, your pictures, anything you'd like us to share with the public. We're more than happy to do that. Just, you know, we've got inboxes, fill them up. So pick up the phone anytime. So thanks a lot, everybody. I think with that, we're going to, Gretchen, do you have any last comments before we depart? Okay, everybody can do the Zoom wave. The Zoom wave. Okay. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Take care.